let's check out and see if we can figure out whether this government shutdown is going to affect our tax returns. Let's find out the latest information, and let's check in on TLRY, UVXY, and the rest of the marketplace. Coming up right now, Short Vol Show Live. Stay with me. All right, so we've got a lot of stuff going on with the government and the shutdown, and it goes on. And I'm not going to get into taking sides here. I'm just concerned about getting my tax refund. I don't know if I told you this before, but I'm one of those people that tries to follow my taxes like at the soonest possible moment and get them sent back to me as soon as possible. It used to be not that big of a deal because I would either not get a refund or I'd owe a little bit of money. That happens a lot when you have two jobs because both jobs think that that first amount that's the deduction you don't have to pay, and of course that only applies for one job. And so if you don't withhold a little extra when you have two jobs, you end up owing money. On top of that, I was always working with all these single moms who would get a check for like $5,000, $7,000 every February come tax time, and I wanted that to happen to me. And I understand it's just you getting your own money back, but working in a resort area, February is the slow time every year, and with interest rates being pretty low, I decided I wouldn't mind the government holding the money for a few months longer and dole it out to me in February in the form of a tax refund. So that being said, I searched the internet and I found this website, which I go to every year, which is basically followed by accountants and moms who are at home trying to get their refunds. And it's called I Got My Refund, and let's go there right now. So this website, let me just stop my beautiful video there. This website, I Got My Refund, is a pretty cool website. And I go to it every year, and you can track. People will say when they got their refund, when they put their e-file, and it tracks every step of the way. So your profile, you can set up your profile, and it'll tell, okay, well, I use Tax Act, I use TurboTax, I file electronically, I filed this day, I've gotten, so far my refund has been accepted, now it's been approved, and so on and so forth. This is not to be confused with the official government website, Where's My Refund, which is the government website to check on refund status with the IRS. So let me see if I can find that one here while we're here. Where's My Refund? Right here. This is the official IRS website for taxes, and this will tell you, where you are in the process. Tax refund received, and then approved, and then a direct deposit date for your refund and whatnot. Now, to fill out this form, you have to have already filed your refund, or at least know the exact refund amount. So I haven't done that yet, so I can't go through this whole form. But let's go back to this I Got My Refund site and check out here, because I found an article. This is an article that came out, I believe today or yesterday, talking about the refunds. All right, so Senator Ron Wyden, Democrat from Oregon, the top Democrat on the Senate Finance Committee, sent a letter Friday to Treasury Secretary Steve Mnuchin and Internal Revenue Service Commissioner Charles Rettig, asking them to explain the impact of the partial shutdown on the IRS and how it will affect taxpayer assistance, cybersecurity, operations, and tax refunds. The IRS announced Monday that it would still process tax refunds despite the shutdown, even bringing back thousands of now furloughed IRS employees who would be unpaid as long as the shutdown lasts. See tax season to start January 28th, IRS confirms. Let's just check out this for really quickly, this one. So this is what came out, I think, like a week or two ago, where the IRS confirmed that the 28th would be the starting date for tax season. And that was reassuring information to a lot of us because, you know, last year it started on the 27th, but this is still just one day off of last year, so not bad. So anyway, this senator sent these questions. Will taxpayers' refunds be delayed? If so, by how much? Will the IRS be able to hire seasonal employees? Will the IRS be able to process returns without a delay? Et cetera, et cetera. And as of yet, I don't think there's been a response from this committee. But they do say that a shutdown contingency plan outlining IRS's operating procedures will be released soon. A bipartisan briefing for the Senate Finance Committee staff with senior officials from the Treasury and the IRS is anticipated to follow shortly after the release of that plan. So far, you know, they're saying that there will be no significant delays, and we've also heard that they will be changing the status of many IRS employees to require them to come into work. You know, that some of the people from the shutdown, I guess I forget the term is, but like crucial employees have to keep still working, and a lot of the IRS were not in that category, but they're going to be switched to that category, they're saying, if this continues much longer. Let's see if we can find any more articles here on IRS. All right, so here's newest from Forbes. The IRS has a very hard job to do, especially now, but you might wonder about the IRS inventory of weapons. And this is talking about actually the IRS having guns. That's bizarre. Well, that's not exactly what I was looking for, how many guns the IRS has. Let's see what else we've got here. IRS news. All right. Despite the government shutdown, this is from Forbes, the Internal Revenue Service is gearing up for the 2019 tax filing season. With about 2 weeks left to go before the official start date, the IRS has announced that IRS Free File, a free online software program available through IRS Gov, is now open for business. With Free File, taxpayers with incomes below $66,000 in 2018 typically have access to free tax prep software. That means that up to 100 million taxpayers, or 70% of filers, are eligible to use Free File. So, I mean, it seems like they're rolling out everything kind of on time. You know, we won't know until people actually get their refunds. Here's another one. Can IRS pay tax refunds during shutdown? It depends on who you ask. The IRS's decision to begin this year's tax filing season on time and to start issuing tax refunds despite a partial government shutdown appears legally sound, according to former government officials. Okay, so there's some partisan bickering here, which I don't really want to get into. So how can the IRS issue refund checks without lawmakers passing a spending bill? A senior administration official explained that the IRS has an indefinite permanent appropriation to issue tax refunds, even during a lapse in congressional funding. So essentially, the U.S. government can just print money to issue these refunds. Not paying the refunds, even during a shutdown, would be thwarting the will and intention of Congress. When the lapse in appropriations occurs, it doesn't impede the actual funds that go into the tax refund. What it impedes is the discretionary budget that the IRS has to process the tax refunds and take the administrative steps to issue a payment. IRS determined it would open its filing season on time this year despite concerns last month that the shutdown would push back the start date. The last time a shutdown this long happened in October 2013. The IRS made the decision to delay the 2014 filing season by a week. Werfel explained that October is a busy month for the IRS in terms of developing and testing information, technology systems, and other processes. So it seems like full speed ahead for the IRS right now as far as the latest information goes. Now, in the end, like I said, we're just going to have to see how this plays out, and we're going to have to see, when the first people get their refunds, then I will be happy to say that everything's on time. Until then, I will be monitoring this. I got my refund.com site every day to see who has got the refund. So far, by checking on this site, I see people have, some people have already e-filed, and the e-files were accepted by the companies. The main companies to use for e-filing on here are Free Tax USA, TurboTax, TaxAct.com, and then some people use H&R Block, although that's not that's a big one too, I guess, H&R Block. So I will be monitoring this site and let you know as we hear about people actually getting their refunds. So I'll let you know where we are in the process here as I get new information. All right, thank you for checking that part out. And now let's go to the market and TLRY real quick. Okay, so tomorrow's the big day, January 15th, for TLRY, that it's supposed to have this dilution event where all these shares become eligible to be traded that weren't eligible until now. Remember, before the 15th, the float was publicly stated at 17.8 million shares. However, Peter Thiel, who represents the biggest company who owns shares that are going to come on the market, is saying that they will not be selling any of those shares until at least the third quarter of this year. So that made the stock rally a lot last week. And let's see, there's a latest article here from Seeking Alpha on TLRY. Next week, there are going to be a lot of, this is from, which date is this? This is from the 13th, so that's yesterday. Next week, there were going to be a lot of eyes on Canadian cannabis firm TLRY. On January 15th, TLRY's lockup expiration hits. For those that are unfamiliar with the stock, there were about 17 million shares outstanding as of the latest filing, along with 76 million shares of Class 2. It's the Class 2 shares that trade on the NASDAQ. Privateer Holdings owns all of that Class 1 stock, which contains 10 votes per share, along with 58 million Class 2 shares. So these guys own 58 out of the 76 million shares. And they're the ones that are saying that they are not going to sell it right away. What this means is that Privateer Holdings, along with other insiders, can now sell those shares freely on the market, which could send the float substantially higher from its roughly 10 million figure currently. TLRY has done extremely well in the IPO, blah, 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 blah. And then we have this one. TLRY stock, a major short squeeze is underway. TLRY stock price is irrationally overpriced. I love when people say this stuff because the price is whatever the market will bear, right? So when you see the price of the stock, that is what the price of the stock is. To say that that's wrong, well, it's kind of like an existential argument in a way, because that's what it is. What it is. You might say it's overpriced, but it could stay up here for a long time to whatever. Nobody really knows. Some people like the smell of napalm in the morning. I love to sell TLRY. Yeah, but if you'd read this guy's article a week ago, or 2 weeks ago, you would have sold TLRY at 70, and now it's up over 100. So careful, my friends, on TLRY, because it can be a bit tricky. Let's see what we're doing today in TLRY. And 102, and I know it got up a little bit higher than that or even earlier today. Let's look at the chart on the daily real quick for TLRY. So tomorrow's the dilution event. I do believe that this will be a short at some point. I just don't know exactly what that point may be. Let me see why the screen is not showing up for you here. See if we can get it going. Because I see the screen, it's just that you don't see it, it seems. Well, let me see if I can move it over to the other screen, and maybe that will be better. Properties. All right, so we're going to move everything over, and I'm going to switch what's on each screen, and we see if we can do it that way. Flip everything over here. And now we can see. Great. Okay, so if I get out of the way here, we can look at TLRY. And we can see that opened 106 today, now trading around 103. And yeah, I mean, people love to say this is a sale, but if you just blindly sold it, it went from 70 to 103 in the last few sessions. Now the dilution event is tomorrow. People are saying this is getting squeezed. And so maybe it will be a sale tomorrow, and maybe this is a great opportunity right now to sell it. But in the meantime, if you had sold it down below, you're taking heat. It's a tricky one here, TLRY. But even if those guys from Privateers don't sell any shares, there still is the rest of the float that's going to come online tomorrow. Somebody's going to be selling shares as soon as that float comes online. Now, we don't know if they've bought puts or something in advance of that, and that this will be kind of a non-event or not. But we've been waiting for this Jan 15th for a while. And with this big spike up, if you haven't gotten hosed all the way up here, it might be worth a shot to either sell some out of the money call spreads or buy a couple puts, something like that. Okay, so the markets today right now are off the lows. And I'm right in the way, aren't I? There we go. Markets are off the lows right now. With E-minis down 10, VIX up 125. Now, VIX up 125, we're still in contango because we got such a crush at the end of last week that this still leaves us in contango. Check out my video from yesterday for a more complete definition of contango and how it works. And if we look at the chart right now, that's a beautiful contango chart. Now, remember, we're only 0.82% in contango. This is actually a very flat chart. And the way you know that is between the low point in the chart, 1943, and the high point on the chart, 1983, is only 40 cents, okay? Now, when this chart is stretched out, this could be like $7 between the high and the low point in the chart. But right now, it's only 40 cents. So this is a very flat chart. And contango / backwardation are not having any effect at this moment because it's so flat. So don't get confused. It rescales the chart every time. And so if you don't check the actual prices, you can't tell how flat it is just by glancing at it. So when you look at this chart, look at the lowest price, 1940, and the highest price. Well, actually, the highest price is here, 1987, to see what the difference is. And the difference between the spot and the M1 future, which is this Jan future, which is going to be expiring very shortly, is called some people call that the roll yield, and it's only 20 cents right now. So, which in a way makes sense because these two will converge on expiration being the 15th, which, of course, is coming up very soon, that being tomorrow. This is one of those expirations on a Tuesday thing. Anyway, or Wednesday morning. I get confused on that sometimes. Anyway, we are in very small contango, but we are staying in contango, which is interesting. And we are off the lows, so it looks like if things continue like this, we will remain in contango by the end of the day today. So even though small decay, it could maybe approach 1% today. Still 1%, that's per month, so that's 12% per year. So we are, it is exhibiting a small amount of decay, even though it is once again small. Let's take a look at UVXY for a second. UVXY up $1.30 on the day due to the VIX being up over a point. And and we see the market's backing off a little bit. If we do look at the E-minis, we can see that the rally off the lows here is kind of stalled out a little bit. Let's take a look. See, it's kind of weird to have these screens all backwards now, but let me try to fix myself here. All right. That's a little bit better. We've kind of stalled out. You know, we were coming off the lows here, and we're still, you know, it still looks like we're in a downward trajectory overall if you look at us from October till now. And the question is, can we break through? And we've been stalled out for the last few sessions, just hanging in this area. And, you know, this is one of the reasons volatility has come in, because the realized volatility, the actual moves we've had, have been much smaller than they were in the weeks before. And the question is, do we sort of consolidate in this area and form a base, and actually are we able to break up from here, or do we go back down? And that's sort of the question. And it's been about 4 sessions now that we've just been sitting in this area and haven't answered that question quite yet. Do I know what we'll do next? No, I never know. I can never predict the future in the markets, and I don't try. If somebody tells you what's going to happen next in the market, be a little suspicious, because a lot of times people act with complete certainty like they know what's going to happen. And I think a lot of times they do that so that they can come back later and say, see, I told you so. But if it goes against them, then you never hear from them again. So they only say, see, I told you so, on the 50% of the time that they're right or whatever. So, so bear that in mind. And the question for a lot of people is, on a lot of people's minds is, okay, is this down move stuff over? Is it time for me to, reinvest in stocks, get long the market again? Or are we going to go back down, and should I hold off? Should I stay in cash? And, that's, in a sense, always the question in the market. And, in a sense, if you're a long-term investor who's long all this stuff all the time, then you kind of have to have confidence in, slowly investing in the market. And, if you have a bunch of cash and you're thinking about starting investing in the market, then I would recommend putting in a little at a time, and over time slowly investing. That way, when the market's higher, you'll be investing less dollar for dollar. When the market's lower, you'll be investing more dollar for dollar. Trying to time the market is very difficult, of course. And, the more people, I'm a contrarian, so the more people that are warning, like, look out below, that's a bullish sign for me. And the more people that are telling you, oh, it's definitely going back down, that to me is a good sign for the markets, because when you have people only looking to the upside, that's a bad sign for the market. So, a little contrarian thinking never hurt anybody too much. As far as the rest of the MJ industry right now, we've got, let's see, CGC today. Let's take a look at CGC. Canopy Growth. This has had a nice run off of its current lows, back up to 37 and change. Afria, after those takeover talks, has had a slow grind upward. It's actually performed better, really better than I had expected it to. ACB, the only MJ stock that I actually own right now, same thing. They all look similar, actually. They've all come off the lows a little bit, which is encouraging. Now, the question with TLRY is, does it act like the rest of these? Is its current up move just in sympathy with the rest of the industry, or is it that short squeeze that everybody's been talking about? And does this continue, or do we grind lower from here? I think there's definitely a good case that this grinds lower from here. But once again, if you've been shorting this, you know that it's burned you. So be careful. Don't put all your eggs in a short TLRY basket, because if you do that, you're definitely looking for trouble. Anyway, thanks for watching. I will keep you updated on any new information I find about the tax refunds, because that's a subject that is close to my heart. Thank you for watching today. The Short Vol Show Live. Always appreciate your patronage, and we will see you in the next one. shares coming back little by little here. And when was that? That was in, I think that was in like May or something like that. Anyway, thanks for all your comments, emails, and whatnot. If I haven't got back to you, I apologize. I try to answer all the emails. Sometimes it's hard. I appreciate all the support for the channel, all the Patreon support. Thank you, everybody. If you don't support, feel free to drop me a line with $1 or $5, something like that, because it does cost money to run this channel, and also in the form of time, because I got to get side jobs to support myself as I run the channel. So thanks for watching. We'll see you in the next one.